Here is a chart which will help you to understand some of the major events in the history of Russia. Tsar Nicholas II started his rule in 1894. In 1904, Russia suffered defeat in a war against Japan. This defeat exposed the conditions in Russia. In 1905, there was an incident called Bloody Sunday, where Father Gapon and the workers were attacked by the Tsar's soldiers. This incident angered the people of Russia. In 1914, the First World War started. Russia suffered defeats on Eastern Front. These defeats exposed the conditions of Russia. In 1917, the Russian Revolution started. It began in Petrograd. The Tsar had to abdicate the throne. In November 1917, Lenin and the Bolshevik took control of Russia. From 1918 to 21, the Bolshevik and the others in Russia started fighting among themselves, which is called a civil war. In 1922, Lenin established the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic under the control of the Communist Party. In 1929, Stalin became the sole ruler of the USSR and created a totalitarian state. These are some of the major events in the history of Russia. The February Revolution in Petrograd. Division among the people could be clearly seen in the city. There was food shortage. There was a lockout in one factory. As a result, workers of 50 more factories went on strike to show their sympathy towards the workers of that factory. Even women joined the strike. Therefore, 22nd February was called International Women's Day. But now we celebrate 8th March every year as International Women's Day. There were demonstrations everywhere. People raised slogans demanding bread, demanding better wages, demanding better hours of work and democracy. The Tsar sent soldiers, but the soldiers refused to fire on the protesting workers. The soldiers and the workers came together and formed Soviets, that is councils. And this council was the first council, that is the Petrograd Soviet. The Tsar had no option but to abdicate his throne. Abdicate means vacate or leave. The Soviet leaders and the Duma leaders formed a provisional government. Provisional means temporary. So this is what happened in Russia in the month of February in the city of Petrograd, and therefore it is called the February Revolution in Petrograd. Now let us see what happened after February. Many restrictions on public meetings and associations put by the Tsar were removed. Petrograd type Soviets were set up everywhere. Lenin decided to do three things to withdraw Russia from the First World War, because he was opposed to war. He wanted to give land to peasants. He wanted to nationalize banks in Russia. These 3 points were called as Lenin's April Theses. The workers' movement began to spread in Russia. In many places, factory committees were formed. Trade unions increased. Soldiers' committees were formed. In the countryside means villages, peasants and socialist leaders demanded redistribution of land. They wanted the land of the rich people to be given to the poor people. The peasants seized land. Seized means to take forcefully the land of rich people. So this is what happened as a result of the February Revolution. The Revolution of October 1917. The Bolsheviks feared the provisional government. Therefore, they established a military revolutionary committee headed by Leon Trotsky to capture power in Russia. On 24th October, there was an uprising between the provisional government and the military revolutionary committee set up by the Bolsheviks. Prime Minister Kerensky sent troops. He seized buildings of Bolshevik newspapers. He took over telephone and telegraph offices. The military revolutionary committee was also very powerful. They seized the offices of the provisional government. They arrested ministers of provisional government. They sent a ship named Aurora which shelled the Winter Palace. Shelled means attacked. Thus, the Bolshevik won the revolution in the month of October. They controlled Moscow, which is the capital city of Russia. Let us see what changed in Russia after the October Revolution. Banks and industries were nationalized. Nationalized means taken under the control of state. Land was declared as social property. That is, land belonged to everyone. Peasants could seize land of nobility. The nobles had the land, but now peasants took their land. Large houses were partitioned. The large houses belonged to rich people. So poor people could capture these houses and stay there. Banned use of old titles of aristocracy. The high class people had titles for themselves, but the Bolsheviks didn't allow them to have these titles. New uniforms were designed for army and officials. The Bolshevik party was renamed as Communist Party, and later this Communist Party was the only party in Russia. This party kept trade unions under its control. Trade union means unions of workers. Anyone who criticized the Communist Party was punished. There was secret police called Cheka. The civil war, when the people of the country fight among themselves, it is called civil war. Let's see what happened in Russia. The Russian army began to break up because the soldiers, who were mostly peasants, went back home to get land which was distributed by the Bolsheviks. There were different groups in Russia, like the Bolsheviks, who were called Reds, socialist revolutionaries, who were called Greens, and the people who were loyal to Tsar and were called Whites. These Whites were supported by countries like France, America, England, and Japan because they were worried at the growth of socialism, and we have learned that socialism is against capitalism and private property. Therefore, these countries were worried at the growth of socialism. There were fights and looting and killing of innocent people in Russia almost every day. There were clashes between supporters of private property and peasants. These people who had property did not want to give their property, but the peasants attacked them. So the situation in Russia was chaotic. Chaotic means very confusing. However, the Bolsheviks held on to power in Russia. I have set some questions, but I will help you with the answers as well. Fill in the blanks. The whole world celebrates International Women's Day on 8th March. The Winter Palace was shelled by a ship named Aurora. Answer the following questions. Write any 2 points from Lenin's April thesis. Lenin decided to withdraw from the First World War. He decided to give land to peasants. He decided to nationalize banks. These were April theses of Lenin. Write any 2 changes introduced by Bolsheviks after the February revolutions. We saw that the Bolshevik introduced many changes after the October Revolution. Banks and industries were nationalized. Land was declared as social property. Large houses were partitioned. You can write any of those points as your answer. Thank you. Here are some questions and I will help you with the answers also. Fill in the blanks. The whole world celebrates International Women's Day on 8th March. The Winter Palace was shelled by a ship named Aurora. Answer the following questions. Write any 2 points from Lenin's April thesis. Lenin decided to withdraw from the First World War. He decided to give land to peasants. He decided to nationalize banks. You can write any 2 points from here. Write any 2 changes introduced by Bolsheviks after the February Revolution. They nationalized banks and industries. They declared land as social property. And there are many other points. You can write any 2 points from here. Thank you.